So let's continue to another person who's been sitting in government before. It's Mr. Kimmo Sasi, who has been Minister of Foreign Trade and Minister of Transport and Communications in Finland. And you've also been a former president of the Nordic Council. What's your opinion on European policy on Iran?
Thank you so much for the question. Dear friends, we say that the European Union is the moral superpower in the world. And I think that's quite right. And we have very high agenda for human rights. But sometimes we give too much declarations. We should be more effective in implementing those human rights, especially there where they are most infringed. European Union foreign policy, there's a lot of goodwill, but also wishful thinking. And sometimes it's difficult to make difficult decisions in the European Union. And I think after Ukraine, we should take more realpolitik in the European Union, and we should have the ability to change circumstances around us. We know that Iran is an essential threat for the European countries. First, so they export military power to Middle East, Syria, Lebanon, and that causes problems to the European area. Then Iran supports terrorism, and the worst thing is a lot of terrorism by Iranians takes place on the European soil. For 5 years in this conference, they tried to attack us. They tried to kill individual people in Europe. A couple of days ago in Cyprus, they tried to attack Israeli target, and they attacked a couple of days ago NRIC target headquarters here in Paris. And it cannot be tolerated that something like this happens on the European soil. Then Iran is a nuclear threat. Soon we can maybe see missiles that can be targeted to the European Union area. And today, Russians use mainly Iranian drones in Ukraine to kill Ukrainian people, innocent people, and destroy infrastructure that people would suffer. And at the end, to try to destroy Ukrainian democracy. And this means that we have to do something that has a role that indeed leads to some consequences. And I think we have to be consequent to be successful. It's not good that one day we are soft, one day we are hard. We have to be constantly firm. And what it means is we have to ask, is there hope of change in Iran? In 40 years we have seen there is no hope. There's worse government today than ever during this 40-year period. They are more cruel than any government before. So we have to try to have policy that leads into a solution inside Iran. And the only solution is peaceful upheaval in Iran without violence. But there must be regime change, otherwise nothing changes in the world. An appeasement policy that has taken place, it has been quite problematic for the opposition because it undergraves the possibilities for the opposition to work. So we have to show that we want to have regime change in Iran. But it is also taking into consideration the history in Iran, so we shall not be involved, Europeans, inside Iran. We have to have an opinion, but we have to leave the regime change to Iranian hands. They have to make the change. But we have to tell that they have the right to overthrow an extremist government and to change the Iranian landscape of politics. Then I think we should not have cooperation with clerical government in Iran, and we have 3 categories of sanctions. They are fairly weak at the moment, so we should have harder sanctions against Iran. And I wait all the time that Revolutionary Guards would be sanctioned as well. That's one of the worst terrorist organizations in the world and one of the most corrupted organizations, not only in Iran, but in the world. And then we should not surrender for blackmail Iranian government is using. And Asadi's case is one worst case. You try to kill people in the European Union, then the Iranian government takes hostages and then exchanges. And as long as this can continue, there is no stop for this. So we have to say no to hostage-taking diplomacy they use. And I believe and trust in regime change because people want to have a better future. And they see how things are in Western countries, the level of living. And the truth is that if Ms. Rajavi's 10-point plan will be implemented, Iran will change to a developed democracy and a country that indeed can have a good standard of living for people. And then, of course, if there's a regime change, so we have to give technical help for Iran that happens smoothly, and then we have to promise, give a carrot, that we give economic aid and cooperate freely and bring Iranian economy to world markets as effectively as well, that indeed people can very soon see that there's a surge in standard of living in Iran. And as has been mentioned in this seminar before, so we have seen that Soviet Union could fall down, a dictatorship can fall down, and this can take place in Tehran as well. And it is indeed when people see that the economy is going down, there is no hope, then when you see there is no bread or food in shops, and then when you see corruption, like Revolutionary Guards in your own country, into whose pocket the money goes, and then people know that they are lied in Iran, like in Soviet Union, but sometimes they at one moment require that there must be some moral in the society, in the information. And when these consequences will be fulfilled, so I think it's time to change in Iran. And I think demonstrations have been a good beginning for the regime change. But there can be one moment as well. When we see how Russia tries to destroy Iranian independence, we know Russia will lose, Russia must lose. That moment when Russia loses, there is some kind of problems inside the Russia, and that can lead into a situation that those countries that are aligned with Russia, so there could be a chance for upheaval at that moment. There could be a new Arabian Spring at that moment, because people see that Tehran was not able to destroy democracy in Ukraine. Democracy will always win, and that's the right path forward. Dear friends, people want to have a good life, and Madame Rajavi's 10-point plan is the way to give good life for the Iranian people. In that I trust, we trust, and we trust that that program will win. Thank you so much.